You're listening to RTI Audio, powered by Rocky Top Insider. This is Pancakes and Bacon with VFL, Kyler Kervison, and Reed Bacon.
Hello, Vol Nation. Welcome to another episode of Pancakes and Bacon. I'm your host, as always, Kyler Kervison, joined with Reed Bacon. This is the last one of the season. We're doing a little season recap. Bittersweet right here. We get a little break, get to enjoy some of the off-season stuff, but going over this past year, how did we do? What do we think about it? How do we feel moving forward? So we're going to get into all that. First, if you guys are watching, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Leave a comment. We love the comments. If you are listening, rate and review, download, re-download on all of those listening platforms. Follow us on social media. And if you are following us on social media, we are doing a little giveaway of some of my past gear on Twitter. So check all that stuff out at Pancakes and Bacon on our main account on Twitter. So let's jump into this. First, Reed. How we doing, bud?
Yellow.
There he is. They didn't know
making
what was
myself
coming.
laugh. What an idiot. What'd you say?
I said they didn't know what was
What'd you
coming
say?
in. They didn't know what was coming in.
No, they didn't. Sorry, I was looking at my phone there, just double, triple checking something. Kyler, I'm doing well. I'm excited to talk about this season as a whole. It's nice to do it, too, now that you're moved away. I only needed probably a couple days. No, that's a lie. I probably needed about a week or so after that Ohio State game. But I can look back on it, and it's a 10-win season, with wins against Florida, Bama, Kentucky, and Oklahoma. And
I like that you put that as your quote. I mean, that's a factual quote. That's exactly what happened this season, and it puts a lot of stuff into perspective.
Yeah, and I think I know that you and I are going to see this the same. I'm guessing we will. But it's nice to reflect on the season because – as fans, we are very much like players where it's week to week. If Tennessee wins, the fans are super fired up. If we lose, they are really, really mad and ready to get back out there and get the bad taste out of their mouth. And, doing some reflecting, getting ready for this podcast, it kind of brought me back through the week by week, kind of how I felt going into each game. And I think that's important for me when I'm reflecting is how did I feel going into each game? How did I feel after each game, win, lose, or draw? And I, we're just two guys talking on here, shooting the breeze, expressing our opinion. But maybe hopefully this will kind of help some people, maybe realize, in my opinion, that I think how fortunate we are under Heupel. And I still believe we're in such a good direction. And all those things. So, but yeah, I'm doing well. How are you? Are you getting any snow over there today?
We got a little bit this morning. Wasn't necessarily expecting that. I didn't think the rain would keep up through the night. Enjoyed some football yesterday. Pretty exciting games in the NFL.
Yeah. Yes.
Surprising. Did not expect Washington to do that to Detroit, but some people turn into pumpkins at certain times. So Jared Goff, that was tough for those.
It's not a good look for the Jared Goff fans. I like Jared. I hate that. I don't dislike Washington, but dang it, I hate that for Detroit. I'm wearing the Titans stuff today. I was going to put something Tennessee on. I'm like, no, this is my big comfy hoodie. And I was like, I'm just going to leave it on. And the Titans just hired a general manager from the Chiefs, so that pretty much means we're about to win 3 straight Super Bowls.
Yeah, exactly. Because they know how to pick Patrick Mahomes. I mean, they're just falling from trees every day.
Bingo. No, so I was going to joke that I'm a Lions fan now that the Titans aren't doing any good, but I wanted that so bad I love Dan Campbell. I love it. A lot of the players on that team, I want it for that city. But I don't dislike Washington. Washington's a great story. I love Dan Quinn. Anything I've ever heard about Dan Quinn, like people I've been fortunate enough to run into some people that had worked for him in the league and stuff, and they say he's just like an incredible guy. So I love to hear that. But, Kyler, it's funny. One thing that we have not talked about on any of our podcasts that I can think of, and there's been where we've come on here the day of or the day after some Tennessee hoops. And yesterday they played over there in Nashville in Vandy. And Vandy did everything they could to give us a game, and we didn't clutch up at the end. But I don't know about you, but I'm just still not like I watched it and I wanted Tennessee to win, but I'm still not there yet. Which is why we just haven't talked about it on here. Is just because we're not.
It kind of gets to that point where it's like we've been ranked number 1 before. We've won a lot of games before. We've maybe won the regular season SEC championship before. We've won the tournament, SEC tournament before. But March hasn't gone our way. Hasn't done that yet. So when you see these games, you're going back and forth, you're enjoying them. Oh, yeah, there's a good win. Yeah, we got a good record. Let's beat our rivals. Let's beat Florida. Let's beat Bama. But everything outside of that, you're like, I'm waiting. I need to see it. I need to feel like we're going to be able to do that because I've just seen this a lot, right?
Which is crazy, to say because we're talking about Heupel and how we don't want to take this for granted. And so we don't want to take the basketball team for granted. And I don't want to say that I take them for granted. I love having a good basketball program, but it's definitely just here and here and here. It's just taking its shots. It's taking its hit on me. And I've been very open about, the Grant and Admiral teams. I would not miss a game. I mean, it was appointment viewing for those couple years.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, it kind of started wearing on me. And then last year was different because we had DK, which we had not had a DK, and I enjoyed it. So I could go in just to be like, let me watch this guy go off. And so that was fun.
Let me watch this explosion.
Exactly. And then there was also that little bit of like, hey, we're going in. People can argue this might not be our best team in March, but this is definitely our best player in March with DK.
Yeah.
And I think we make the Final Four if we're not matched up with Purdue. I don't think we win the championship because I don't think we beat Purdue or we beat UConn, but I think we could have made it to the Final Four. But, yeah, man, it's just funny that I just almost felt like I needed to bring it up on here. I know we talk all sports, but we're definitely more football-centric. But it's just like I've watched a decent amount of the games, but they're not appointment viewing. I'll kind of check in the score. And then towards the end, I'll watch like the last few minutes. But it's just not – it's wild, man. It is wild how desensitized I've come to it.
It's all – I mean, listen, I always played football growing up. I sometimes played basketball. I played baseball 1 year when I was like 12. So football is what's near and dear to my heart. It's what I care about the most. I'm still a Tennessee fan in general, but – football is the one I enjoy, and like just how the sports are set up with so many games.
Yeah,
it makes it feel less important for the other ones. I don't like for the NFL, for instance. I don't like that they are continuing to add more games onto the NFL season.
I hate it.
The more games you have, the less important each game is. That's just math. That's just the way it works. Like, if you have one game in the season, that's a pretty damn important game, right? If you had a one-game season, that's pretty damn important. If you have a 100-game season, the last 10 are probably not important. 20, you've already figured out what's happening. You played 80% of the schedule. So, like this year, I mean, week 17 or 18 or whatever was the NFL, there was like 2 games that actually mattered. The rest the rest are like who gets the second versus the third pick.
I don't like that many games because I'm not a player. I never made it to the NFL, wasn't close. But it's like I put myself in their situation. I'm like, dude, these guys do not need to be playing 17, 18 games. And I get why the owners do it because it brings in money. We love football, which is a great point. Yesterday, I mean, I was flipping back and forth between Tennessee and Vandy and the Chiefs and Texans game, like, because I just love football. I love playoff football. Yeah. So I get why the owners do it, but I hate it for the players. I hate it for the coaches. It's like I wish they would be at 14, 15, 16 at the most because it is so hard on these dudes' bodies. And the one thing I would say to these owners is like, I get it. They want to do it for money, and you're not going to change their mind, but the product's better when you have your stars, and the more games you play, the more chances that you're going to have of injuries. So I don't know. I like the sweet spot of 14, 15 games, but whatever. And that is why the playoffs are just so intense and so awesome to watch because it's a one-game thing. But, anyway, so we haven't talked basketball. At some point, we probably will get on here and talk it. But and it's weird, man. It's weird because I really do feel like – I don't know, though. Are we taking it for granted because it's regular season wins and that stuff just ultimately doesn't matter. Like as long as you're in the dance, you're in the dance. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's it. I think because of the tournament, how it's set up, it's like, hey, get your best opportunity to get there. And, right now we are who we are in the SEC. We're, a 15-2 team, 16-2, can't remember. And it's kind of like, we're in the upper echelon of the SEC. We know that. Now, seeding wise, who do you get? Because it's just like if I'm an 8 seed, if I'm a 9, if I'm a 12, if I'm a 4, if I'm a 1, I still gotta win 5 games. You know what I mean?
And you know what? That's such a good point. I was talking to Jack the other day, and he and I were talking about, I was like, bro, have you been watching the basketball stuff? He's like, I mean, not really. And I think he's the same way as you and I are, as how we're just conditioned to just be bummed and just ready for March. I think that's a good point. It's a point that Jack made. He was like, when teams were like, we were the underdog teams, and people didn't expect a lot from us, then you do watch every game because then those wins matter because we want to get to the dance. And then it's like, holy crap, we made it a dance. Let's go. Well, now it's like, we know we're going to make the dance. And like I said, I don't want to take that for granted, but we know we're going to get there. So, and then the other thing is too, is like, I don't like losing. I don't like losing and seeing Vanderbilt celebrate and cheer, but ultimately it doesn't matter because this year in college basketball, all the top teams are going to lose multiple times. And so really it's just going to matter, like I'm not going to care at all that Vandy beat us if we go to the Final Four. You know what I mean? So, and then the other thing.
I think having undefeated seasons is now in this era is like almost impossible.
Yeah. I agree.
In both basketball and football. Like Oregon, the fact that they made it as far as they did without losing is an anomaly moving forward. Like I think the parity, worse teams getting better teams getting worse, everyone kind of in the middle is going to create that where you're going to have 3 lost teams begging to get into the 12-team playoff. It's like, that's it's going to happen more. There's going to be more losses between teams.
Yeah, good point. Who would have thought we were talking about basketball for the first 14 minutes? Anyways, our sponsorship. Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Our sponsorship, Bacon Junk Removal. Kyler, I love what I'm doing. I absolutely love it. I've been so fortunate. I've got to work for some great people, some great jobs. I just need more of them. This is definitely the first time in 9-10 years that the money situation is a little bit different, where it's like, hey, you're really watching it and counting it and making sure it, what you're spending and stuff like that, which I've always been, very frugal and try to be smart with my money, but it hits different when you're trying to start your own business. So I say all that to say, I feel very fortunate where I am, but please just liking and following and sharing the message is so important for me, and I appreciate it more than anything for any of you all. But yeah, if you don't need anything right now, please just spread the word. If you hear anything, Bacon Junk Removal, follow us on all socials.
Yep. That's right. Reach out to the boy.
All right. So, Kyler, we're just kind of diving into this. We got our first 4 games. I will read those off, and then let's hear what you think. So we started the season off with the Chattanooga win, 69-3.
Mm-hmm.
We then go to NC State and blast them 51-10. They were number 24 at the time. It's a neutral site game in Charlotte. Kent State 71-0. And then number 15 at the time, actually it says 15-13, Oklahoma in Norman 25-15. Those are the first 4 games of the year. Those were our appetizer. What did you think? What did you think going into those games, after those games, everything?
Excited for the first game, UTC. It's the first game of the season. Not expecting to learn a lot from it. Was just like, hey, let's have fun. Let's see what that offense can do. Let's see how good our defense can be. We literally we're like, hey, our D line's great, but didn't know about DBs because it was all new guys. Didn't know a lot about the linebacker position. So it was like, what can we do defensively? Could you tell that this was an elite defense after that game? Probably not. I mean, it wasn't a great team. NC State gave us a little bit more of a taste of it. A little Will Brooks pick 6 was beautiful, beautiful sight. But it also gave us a little bit of here's a struggling Nico. Here's a middling Nico. I shouldn't say struggling. I should say middling.
Easy. People might be coming at
the Iowa
you.
Game rushes for 3 touchdowns, just kind of goes off. We don't throw the ball that much. He's still very efficient. Chattanooga beats the shit out of him. And then we get to NC State, and it's like, okay, here's a Power 5 team. Let's see what Nico can do. This is only his 3rd game starting. Let's see where he's at. And it was kind of, he's 16 for 23, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. So it was like, I see some bad stuff. I see some good stuff. Where's he at? How's his growth going? NC State, are they an actually good team, or was that a bad team that we just beat because it was 51-10 by the end of it? And we come to find out that NC State really wasn't that great later on in the season. We've got the who was next?
It actually went Chattanooga, NC State, Kent State, and then Oklahoma.
Kent State, which was another blowout, 71-0 or something like that.
Yep.
You can't take it's like with a grain of salt. And then here's our true road test. Here's our a hilarious setup of first SEC game of that year. Heupel's going back to his old school. So important for him, so important for the team. And it's a dogfight. And it's the first we see a lot of inconsistencies and not doing what they're supposed to on offense. Some missed opportunities on offense. We were like, dang, really, if you just hold your block a little longer, really, if you just hit that route a little harder, you start to see some of that stuff on offense. And then you start to see in this game as well, this defense. Look how good this defense is. Look what they can do. Because this is the first game where Heupel literally goes into the second half and goes, we're changing the game plan. We are changing this up. I don't have my second string back and Deshaun Bishop. Peyton Lewis is getting reps, and my defense is playing out of their mind. We're going to run this football. We're going to drain this clock. We're going to play, winning football to win this game. It's not about beating the shit out of them. We're going to win this game. So I liked to see that out of Heupel, where it was like, I am playing this game with what the game is giving me. I'm not, this is not, hey, I need to play the exact same way every single game. Here's the growth. Here's the, hey, we're going to change the game plan up. Hey, we're going to do some different stuff. Take advantage of this. And then, just a huge huge win for Heupel in all aspects. An away SEC win, continues to stack those. Now, away games have always been more difficult. They always are. But he's stacking those in LSU in 22, Oklahoma in 24. So, and just like for him in general, like just happy for him that he got that win versus his old team, played there, coached there, all that stuff. So I was like very happy heading into the bye thinking, here's where we start to see exactly what's happening, exactly what this team is.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. For me, there's a lot of points there that I agree with you on. And I know you and I talked about it, and we're like, hey, it stinks starting off with this game. I know you as a player, you like it. Go out there, get your reps, get your feet wet compared to then having your big game maybe week 2. And I think for me, I go out, I watched it. We beat the crap out of them. But I was like, something's missing. Like, I'm not seeing something that I want to see here, whether it was the deep shots or the offense. And then, we didn't come on here and poo-poo it. But, it's Chattanooga. And I remember reading, and I'm sorry, I have no idea who it was. This was 13, 14 weeks ago. But someone said, hey, last year we played Austin P and it didn't look good. So don't poo-poo. And I said, hey, that's fair. Last year we did struggle with Austin P a little bit. Now we're blowing them out. And I was like, hey, great point. Just for my eyes, I'm not happy with what I'm seeing. Then we go to NC State, and I blatantly remember I was walking around my house spraying for insects and doing all that type stuff. And I'm on the phone with Jack, not Jack Gillespie, my buddy, but Jack from Rocky Top Insider. Well, now he's with Omaha Productions. And I was like, do you think we win? And he's like, yes, I think we win. I said, man, I just it's early in the season. Like, I don't know what NC State's going to be. I know they have Grayson McCall. I know they have some playmakers. Like, they're usually a decent 7-5, 8-win team, maybe a 9-win team. I'm like, I don't know. Like, I still think we win, but it's still early. Like, I am very much one of those people that I need 4 weeks, 5 weeks to figure out who I think this team really, really is, especially when we play Chattanooga first week. But Jack was like, no, I think we win. I think we're too much for him. I said, okay, I hope you're right. And then I watched the game. I'm out there with my dad. It's kind of back and forth a little bit. And then the Will Brooks pick happens. And then it's just kind of the onslaught. And it's like, okay, that's a good win. And I am one of those people, Kyler, that I do believe we can sit here now and say, yeah, NC State wasn't that good of a team. But Tennessee did not beat them like that in week 8 or 9 or 10. Where their season was already in the dumpster fire. That was week 2, where those players
they were the best.
Exactly. That is still when they and I firmly believe that teams do change. Meaning, people say, well, Reed, whether you played them now or then, they're still a 6-win team. Their record is the record. Yeah, I hear you, but it's also like momentum. You can't see it, but you can feel it. And as a player and as someone that's been around the game, like, I promise you, I've been on teams where we played a team week 2 and we played a hell of a lot harder. We were a lot more dialed in than maybe after we've dropped a couple games and you're kind of going through the motions a little bit.
Yeah, so prime examples many times has happened where teams play each other in the SEC, then they play each other again in the SEC championship. It's a different result. It's a different team at that point.
Yeah.
Ohio State this year loses a 1-point game to Oregon, beats the ever-living shit out of them in the playoff. It's like they are a different team at that point.
Yeah, and so I do think that that's a pretty good win. Like, I don't go back and be like, yeah, sweet, dude, you beat North Carolina State, neutral site, and they're like 5-win team. I'm like, hey, I like the win. Not only did we go and beat them, we beat the brakes off of them. Mm-hmm. And so I'm happy about that. And the same thing with Oklahoma. Now, before I get to Oklahoma, I remember watching the Kent State game. I'm sitting on the couch. Meg and I are like, Megan's like, these poor people, what's going on with these? They don't, she doesn't really understand. She doesn't understand sports, and she's like, this is awful. They're beating them 70-0.
I felt bad.
Yeah, and like I had a bet on it. I mean, I think the spread was like 50 or 60 or 40, and I took it, and she and I were laughing at like, we should have put the mortgage on it, joking and stuff, because it was just – but I remember talking with you, and that was when it set in and the fandom was at an all-time high. Like, we have the best receiving core in the nation. that this offense is this offense is that. And for whatever reason, I'm just like, hey, I'm happy we won. Go get your stats. But, like, dude, they're awful. Kent State is awful. Like, this means nothing to me. The only thing I cared about was, A, we won, and we didn't screw around and have some Georgia State from a couple years ago. So we won, but then we get out of it pretty healthy. But there were still things I was waiting to see. And as I went on during that Oklahoma game, and I said it on the Oklahoma, that whole day I was nervous for that game. I was nervous for that game. My heart was beating. I don't know why, but I wanted to beat Oklahoma so bad after losing to them twice. I wanted it for Heupel really bad, and I just felt like the season had a chance to go in a different direction if we lose that game. Then we go to that game. Tennessee makes the plays that they need to make. The defense is balling out. The D-line is balling out, and we win that game. Was it scary and ugly? A little bit, yeah, but I'm never going to apologize for a win. Now, Tennessee could have looked great in that game, or they could have won it how they won it. I still was worried about Arkansas, as you pointed out and reminded me, and I picked us to lose to Arkansas when we were doing our season breakdown before anything ever started, because I just said that's how college sports works. You got to watch these sleepy-ass games, and I know it's all the perfect thing. We're 4-0. We're coming off a bye week. Arkansas is probably not that good, but guess what? Arkansas had a night game. It was their Super Bowl, meaning like not that we mean the most to them, but hey, this is the number 1 or 4 or 3 or 4 ranked team that we were at the time. It's a night game, so it's still early in the season. Weather's great. Hey, we're going to be there for the Tennessee game. We're going to get rowdy. We're going to get loud. Yeah. And we didn't do what we needed to do to take the crowd and the people out of it. Arkansas made the plays and they beat us. And so that's the middle gauntlet. So let me just finish. Games 1 through 4, I'm happy because we were 4-0, but mainly I was just happy because I was really, really happy with the Oklahoma win. I was going to be very, very bummed out. I'll say this. After those first 4 games, I thought Tennessee was pretty good. I didn't think that they were as good as we were ranked, but I still wanted to see more. And then we get into the middle gauntlet, and that's kind of where you see. So let me read this off.
Yeah.
So we have a bye week, and then you go to Arkansas. You go Florida at home, Alabama at home, and then you got Kentucky at home. And then I think there was and then Mississippi State, and then
it was a bye after Bama. So the middle gauntlet was those 3: Arkansas, Florida, Bama.
Yep. You're right. Yeah. So go ahead.
I mean, I'm with you too. After the first 4, feeling pretty good. Still seeing things that like I don't necessarily love. I'm kind of Nico's throwing some really good balls, but he's also throwing some weird ones that I'm not.
Or missing. Missing.
It's like the Dante Thornton touchdown in the first half versus Oklahoma is perfect ball placement on a post. And you're like, this is incredible, because you saw some of that versus NC State too. But then you're like, wait, where is he going with that ball? Like you're just like seeing some of these throws of, wait, why did he do that? What is he thinking in that scenario? So then we get to Arkansas, and it's just like penalties and execution are just not there on offense. And you're thinking, our defense bowed up versus Oklahoma. They didn't let up points versus those bad teams that we played earlier. So maybe they can hold this for us. Maybe they can make it a difference. And they just they could not hold on. They needed a little bit of help from our offense, which wasn't there. Just legit not there in the second half, not executing, not being able to give our defense a break, enough of a break where they can breathe a little bit, get a drive together, not just, one first down and then punt. So I'm with you when you say, that was an important game for Arkansas. But at that point, I'm a little disappointed in where Nico is at. I'm sitting there like, man, I feel like this can be a lot better. I feel like we're just not all the way there. I mean, he threw for 150 yards in that game, and it just didn't feel At this point, I'm like, Dylan Sampson is the man. He is the truth. He is what's making the difference in all of these games. He makes a difference out there on the field. This guy's incredible. Where is Nico? Where can he get better as the season goes along? What can we do? This is obviously a defensive team. That's where it came right there. I mean, going into Florida after the Arkansas game, I felt like we are a defensive team with a good running back. That's what it felt like. I think this is where the identity really showed itself, is after this Arkansas loss. We're 4-1, 2 away games in the SEC. Coming back home, I think it was kind of written, okay, this is this kind of team. They're good defensively. Their D-line is great. Their offense is kind of there.
Let me ask you this. Do you let me just make this statement and then ask you. I see, for me, I got that after the Florida game. I still had hope one more week. I still had hope, hey, let's get home, because just think about it. All the kind of bigger games have not been at home yet. So for me, I was like, let's get in Neyland. Let's see if this offense can click against Florida. But my question to you is, do you think that ultimately that Arkansas loss was probably a good loss for us at that spot? Because you and I would both rather beat Alabama and Florida than beat Arkansas.
Definitely.
So don't we think that it might have worked out, because we've been on teams where sometimes you need a loss to get that going? So do you think that loss was maybe a good spot for us?
I mean, if you're going to have one, I guess it probably would have been better versus Oklahoma, I think, just like based off of which game it is in the season and where it is based off buys, like if before the bye week, not after the bye week, because after the bye week does give the feel of like, well, what happened? What did you do during the bye week?
See, I would absolutely pick an Oklahoma win over then compared to an Arkansas win, but that's me. That's just me.
Yeah, I think there's other things in it. Like, I wanted to beat Oklahoma because we played them before, because they've been good over the years, because Heupel played there. Like, that goes into it. Like, I don't really think about Arkansas. I just don't think about them ever. So
that's why I wanted the Oklahoma win.
But like, if Oklahoma and Arkansas were flipped, like, I would have loved that. If we played Arkansas first, lost before the bye, and then went in the bye, and then just did 3 straight, Oklahoma away, Florida at home, Bama at home, I would have been like, this team is, I mean, yes.
I agree. That's a great point.
I mean? Like, this team bounced back. They showed me who they are, that kind of thing. I think the Arkansas did kind of punch them in the face enough to where they're like, hey, we got to do something here versus Florida, Bama. But the offense wasn't really why we beat Florida and Bama. Like, they struggled. There was no points. Like, there were barely any points in the first half. We weren't scoring. But it did show resilience. It showed a fight in the team. It showed, hey, we're going to come out the second half, make adjustments, and be able to pull this thing out. But Florida was scary, man. Scary. I mean, we went to it. We believed in our defense. We trusted Heupel. But the fact that it got to overtime, the fact that it was a game still, was very kind of, how are we going to let this happen? We can't let this happen. We cannot let another second-string quarterback for Florida come into the game after an injury and beat us. I mean, how many times has that happened over the past 10 years? It feels like at least 60%. So,
and I see, and I think that's where we have to make a point to say that's that's the difference with Heupel compared to any of the other coaches that we've had of recent.
Sure.
Whether it's all the way back to Lane, Dooley, Butch, Pruitt, that the second string did come in, and DJ Lagway is going to be a really good player. It's not like losing to Neon Treon or Felipe Franks or whatever, any of those dudes. Like, DJ Lagway is going to be a pretty good player. but we closed it out. And that's my difference. And I don't want to get on my overall tangent. I'll save it for the end. But like that's my difference with Heupel is we beat Florida. We did beat Oklahoma when we weren't that good. Yeah, I have Kentucky on here. I know we're Kentucky's daddy, but like I enjoy that. I still want to do that, And then we've beaten Bama. He's beaten them twice since he's been here, and it's like I'm going to enjoy being here, and I do have faith that Heupel is going to get us here. I don't think Heupel is going to be our Mark Richt. I think Heupel can get us to the next spot. That's my belief now.
That was the question for sure. I think.
So, anyways, I wanted to let you finish. Go ahead, unless you're finished with your middle gauntlet of what was it? Arkansas, Florida, and Bama.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. That Florida game, there was a resilience. We finished it. We were able to do it, and then the Bama game, we're down. We were down 10 points. We didn't score anything, and it was a fight. It was all fight in the second half to come back from that. Guys making plays when they had to, defense bowing their necks when they had to, and it really showed like, okay, this team can beat whoever they want to beat. They just have to do it. Like they have to execute, because Bama had just beaten Georgia a couple weeks prior. So it felt like Alabama's a damn good team. They're gonna be probably in the SEC championship because they've already beaten Georgia. What can we do? What can we show? And it was just, it was a lot of fight. And this is the difference. Like you just brought it up with Heupel, and what we've had in the past is like he's beating the Bamas and Floridas. He is whooping the Kentuckys. There's not a question mark there. And he's making sure that there's not a doubt versus the Chattanoogas and the Kent States and the UTEPs, where in years past, it's can we pull out this victory versus Austin Peay? Can we make it past Appalachian State? Can Georgia Southern be beat? Like those kinds of things were question marks. And then when we were going to away games, it was like, I hope we make it close. I hope we have a good fight. Where, Oklahoma and Arkansas, it was like, let's go beat them. Let's go win these games. We've seen Heupel on the road before. So it's just the next step. And then I'm glad you mentioned Mark Richt, because I think that's a huge thing in college football right now. The James Franklins, the Ryan Days, can it be done? Can they make it over that hump? The Mark Richts of the world, the Brian Kellys now. Can you actually do it? Can you actually make it? Because nowadays it seems like there's a lot of coaches that are sitting right there at the right underneath that glass ceiling trying to break through. So what is it going to be? Is it actually going to be a breakthrough, or is it going to be 10, 10, 9, 9, 10, 9, 10 win seasons? This is, I have belief in Coach Heupel because of what he's done in 4 or 5 years. If we're sitting here another 10-win season, no SEC championships, no national championships, then I'm feeling like Georgia with Mark Richt. Then I'm feeling like –
How many years did you say? How many years?
4 or 5 years from now. If it's the same, then I'm feeling that way. But right now I'm thinking back to, 2019, and I'm like, damn, we're in a good spot. You know what I mean? Like we are in a really good spot.
Yeah, I think Nick Saban absolutely just wrecked expectations for everyone. Kirby Smart did it for a few years with his back-to-back, and they're still a really good program. Don't get it wrong. I'm not saying they're gone. I think Brian Kelly's a great one that you mentioned, because I automatically assumed, and his time's not done that, is not done yet down there, but I automatically assume, he leaves Notre Dame, he'll win at LSU. And it hasn't happened yet, but that's what
he's doing the same. I mean, how mad is LSU and LSU fans at Brian Kelly right now? And how worried are they? Because there's this whole Notre Dame is in a better spot now than they were with him. Brian Kelly has come here, and when he had a Heisman winning quarterback, wasn't able to win the SEC, who's balling right now in the NFL. It's a bad look on Brian Kelly.
Very much.
Then also, you just lost the number one recruit in the nation to Michigan, Bryce Underwood, who was committed to you for 10 months. You lost him. And you kind of look at Brian Kelly in a different lens now that you see Notre Dame where they're at. And I think LSU fans are kind of like, oh, shit. Did we make the right hire here? Is this a guy who can win a national championship here? I don't know.
And don't get it twisted. Notre Dame still had a super easy schedule, and I don't think they win. Crazy enough, I'll probably be pulling for them to win, even though I can't stand them just because I don't like Ohio State, or maybe I'll pull for Ohio State to win so that the cupcake schedules don't get rewarded or whatever. I don't know. But I just think you look at it and how long it took Harbaugh at Michigan.
Yeah.
Whether you saw how long it took Dabo before he got one or two. You saw Ryan Day is just now going to get his first. So it's just really, really hard to do unless your name's Nick Saban, and it's really hard to do. He made it look easy. Like I said, Kirby had his time where he made it look a little bit easy, but there's ebbs and flows of this. And for me, something's going to have to change with what I see with my eyes with Heupel, because it's funny. People get mad at him that we're not the same high-flying, people want to say aggressive offense and all these things. All I'm watching is he's still winning games.
Yeah.
He's still winning games. And yes, do I want it to look a certain way? Yeah, that'd be great. But I just want to win. I just want to win. I don't care how.
He's taking advantage of what he's got. He's taking advantage of what he's got. I think the best way to put it that fights all of those arguments that you're bringing up is in 2022, he had an SEC Player of the Year in his quarterback. 2024, he had an SEC Player of the Year in a running back position.
I couldn't agree more.
You might want to, poo-poo on his offense and say the offense isn't that great. Well, he just had the best offensive player in the SEC on the team. Yeah. So, in a year that you thought the offense wasn't that good, we had success. So it's you can't come to him and be like, hey, you don't know how to run an offense. Well, obviously he does.
Yeah.
A guy just won SEC Player of the Year. Obviously he does.
Yeah, and there was that talk about the 3-3-5. This defense is stopping Heupel. He has issues with it. Well, if he did self-scouting after 2023 and felt like that was giving him issues, so then give him kudos to go out and get 2 tight ends and say, we're going to pound it right at your ass. And guess what? He still had guys running wide open. We just didn't hit them, whether it was a go ball, whether it was a post, or whether it was a deep dig, whatever the case is. He still was dialing dudes up, and we were missing them. Now, I get it. Heupel's responsibility as our head coach is to get quarterbacks that can hit that, to get offensive linemen that don't hold and can stay in their stance. Those are all his responsibilities. But for me, I could not be happier with where we're going. Let me talk about middle gauntlet real quick. So we beat Florida. That was after that. For me, we got that game. I said, oh, thank goodness we won. I love beating Florida. I'm never going to apologize for it. I don't trust this offense. So moving forward, we're going to have to beat people defensively and running the ball and playing Titans football. Mm-hmm. And that's why for me, I was like, okay, you were saying, hey, maybe we can pick it up against a Mississippi State. Maybe we can turn it on against a Kentucky. And I know where you were and that you were wanting to see it, and I get it. But I had already made my mind up this isn't it. This is who the team is, and this is how it's going to happen. But anyways, that middle gauntlet, to be able to bounce back and beat Florida and Alabama after a loss, and they made the plays they need to make, is massive.
Mm-hmm.
That is massive. And I'm going to remember that and be as happy as I am with that than I am going to be upset about losing at Georgia or at Ohio State. Those, yeah, I don't like those. But then again, you can click that down to the final push. The middle gauntlet, even with a loss, was still great to me because they responded. You go to Kentucky, beat them 28-18. You got Mississippi State 33-14. And then you got Georgia, lost, UTEP, and Vandy, and then Ohio State. So here's the deal. Did Kentucky and Mississippi State look like we wanted it to look with the offense? Because everyone's like, can it click? Can it click? Can it click? No, but guess what? I never watched those games thinking we were going to lose. Never once. Yeah. Not even when those games might have been a 1-score or 2-score game. Never thought we were going to lose.
And in the past, you would have.
Exactly.
I mean, and and you brought it up, like the reason I was talking about can the offense click is because of the Georgia game. Like I was sitting there going, we're not going to win versus Georgia away, planning to play good defense. You're just not – that's not enough, right? Yeah. The offense needs to come in and be a factor as a part of this. Yeah. So can I see growth versus Kentucky versus Mississippi State? And I really didn't feel like I did. Like I didn't feel like I saw the growth, that I saw the mistakes quit happening. It was like you were still seeing missed throws, you were still seeing drop balls, you were still seeing stupid pre-snap penalties on offense. So it just, in like versus Kentucky, we're down 10-7 at the halftime. It's like we shouldn't be down 10-7 at half. Versus Mississippi State, we had, 2 drives get down towards the red zone before the half, 2 field goals. Then another drive after the half, another field goal. And it's like, great. Thank you, Max Gilbert, for being on top of your shit and making those. Yeah. But, like, we got to score, guys. We got to score. And that's what I was thinking the whole time watching those games is, like, these teams are worse than the teams we've already beat. They are worse than Oklahoma, than Florida, than Bama.
I think – so you know what I just thought about here? We get through that middle gauntlet. We're really, really happy to beat Florida and Bama. You're sitting at a really, really good spot because you just beat those 2 teams. You beat Alabama, what you said, had beaten Georgia. So you're sitting here like, okay, even if we lose to Georgia, we're still going to have a chance, da-da-da-da. But you are sitting here thinking, hey, we've beaten those teams, but to beat a Georgia or to beat and go on and win and compete – you're going to have to let it click some more. And I hear you because I agree with you. I just think I was at that, I'll believe it when I see it. Yeah. I didn't have the faith that they were just going to click it on because I mentioned in the middle gauntlet is where I was like, this is who this team is. Now, for me, like I said, you beat Kentucky, you beat State. Doesn't look like you wanted to, but you win. I go into the Georgia game.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, hey, I don't think we win this game, but I think we're going to go down there. We're going to play good defense. Let's just make it a 4th quarter game. I go out. I'm watching it with my dad. That offense starts clicking. I'm like,
hello, 10-0 real quick.
And I'm like, was I wrong? Is this the time the offense is going to pick it up? Like the biggest game of the year? Are we going to start clicking? And that's why I was like, we got a chance. And then what happens? That is the game that we realized the defense is not who we thought they were. For me personally, my opinion, I thought that this defense, from what I'd seen, had a chance to be one of the best elite defenses, and that's not who they were. They were a good defense. They were a very good defense at times, but they weren't great. They weren't elite, and that's when we found that out because we could not cause problems with Carson Beck. We could not get pressure with 4. We could not stay in front of dudes.
We also found out how valuable a home game is. Yeah. We found out how much of a factor Neyland is. And
which I think we knew that. I think we've always known that. But I do think there is something to say that Tennessee's 2 losses to the end of the year with Ohio State and Georgia came in at the worst times. And I'm not making excuses. You still have to win the games to get where we want to get. We want to win that national championship. You and I, at least me personally, I just want one more in my lifetime. I had the one when I was younger. I want one as an adult. That's what I want. I'll take 10 more, and I'll enjoy every one of them. But I just want one more. So that's where I want to get. Did I ever think we could do that this year? Probably not. Probably not. But you still have a hope. And
if you get in the dance,
you never know what's going to happen.
Exactly.
But you get Georgia after a loss, and they are at night, at home, with a good roster, with a great coach. And if they lose, their season's over. Guess what? You're going to have to play damn near perfect to beat them. And we didn't. And then we go and we play Ohio State at home, at night, after they lost to Michigan. And it's like you're going to have to play really, really great to even have a chance because their roster.
And their season's over. Their coach gets fired. Everybody transfers. Yes. Like, it was a huge game for them.
Yes, yes. So, anyways, the final push was that Georgia game. I let myself get my hopes up. But then I came to the realization after that game, it said, hey, go beat UTEP, go beat Vandy, which I enjoyed that Vandy win. I'm glad we beat Vandy. Like, they had a little pop to them. That could have easily been a game. Hey, they're up on us. Are we going to be able to come back?
Yeah. Is
it going to be some Diego Pavia magic? What's the case? Are we just going to blow it like we did in 2016? 2016, where all we had to do was go to Vandy and win, and we had Josh Dobbs and AK, and we lost. We couldn't stop Pat Shurmur and his kid at quarterback. That didn't happen. We started as bad as you could, and they came back and resolved. So I'm like, okay, this team, they don't do that. And then you have Ohio State, and the Ohio State game was a bummer. You never want to get your ass kicked. I never want to see my team get their ass kicked on a spot like this, because then you have to hear, oh, you guys are frauds, you guys are this, you guys are that. Yeah. And that's why the Oregon game made it a little bit different. But you got to we played 13 games. You got to look at all 13 games as a whole, and you come back, and that's why I still am very happy with 10-win season with wins against Florida, Bama, Kentucky, and Oklahoma. Yep. And I'm not going to allow myself to sit there and say, as bad as it was with the ending, I still had a great season. I still enjoyed it very much. I still like the trajectory of where we were going and how we were going. And Kyler, there's just nothing. There's nothing in my mind that feels like Heupel can't get us to where we want to go. He's taken 2 steps already. He took us from the dumpsters to, hey, this team can compete and fight, and wait till we get some dudes in here. Then he took us from that to, we can beat 10 wins. We can beat the big dogs. Now he's just got to say, I can beat the big dogs on the road, and I can win us an SEC or national championship. And there's no reason for me not to believe that he can do that because of what he's done since he's been here so far, how quickly he's done it, and because the nature of the beast of all the coaches we just talked about, how long it took them to either win one or just to get one. Yeah. And the thing is, if you did want to fire Heupel, which I'm not saying people do, but even if we go another year or two with the same type of stuff, who else were you guys wanting to go get? Unless, because I don't like that argument all the time, there's an up-and-comer that you are going to take a gamble on that says, I think he's the next great one. That's because to fire him for what? To go get Brian Kelly? Well, LSU thought that's what they were doing. They thought they were going to go get the proven commodity. So far, not so. Exactly. You know what I mean? I mean, Harbaugh came and he was the savior, and it took him many, many years to get it done. I mean, he was going to get fired because he couldn't beat Ohio State. So it's just
he had to restructure his contract. He was so bad. They literally were like, hey, we're going to fire you. He's like, listen, pay me less, and I'll keep working on it. Yeah. So I just think my biggest thing is I just think you have to have patience and enjoy. You have to have patience, in my opinion. I know it might not look the same as it did in 22, but 22 was a special year. And don't fault Heupel for his own success. And I'm not sitting there saying, oh, well, he can have one good year and I'm going to let that ride for 3. No. He's still winning games. It just doesn't look the same as what you want it to look. But ultimately, he knows he's got to get there. Yeah.
I mean, ultimately, I'll just finish by saying, like, I thought it was an awesome season. I really did.
No, I did too. Talking about the Ohio State game, like you know, got the asses whooped, but at the same time, previous games like the Alabama where we're down 10-0 and then we fight back. Like we were down 21-0 and then we scored 10 points, let up 0 in the second quarter, and it's 10-21 going into half when we get the ball after halftime. And it's like you score 17-21, it feels a lot different. It's not an ass whooping. We can't execute, and I will say it again. I'll say it till I'm blue in the face. Dylan Sampson didn't play. He couldn't play. He was injured. So the best player on our team couldn't play. That's literally what happened. The guy who made our offense at least, feasible, at least a working offense, wasn't able to play. So that puts it into a different perspective for me. I don't understand why people didn't realize that. Like Dylan Sampson, SEC Player of the Year, and no one's going to talk about the fact that he's not playing. He's not actually out there on the field that much. He's getting like 5 snaps in the game. Like that makes a huge difference to me in my head and how I perceive the Ohio State loss and how I perceive Heupel's season in total. I'm still very happy with the season. We went into it thinking 10-2, 9-3. We were not expecting the 2022 season of 11 wins of, hey, we can go to the SEC. Like it was, listen, this is going to be tough. This is the first year for a quarterback that's supposed to be good. Hopefully he can make it that way. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. And I mean, like I said earlier, you look back at 2019 and you go, God dang, we're in a good spot. Like, man, dude, like where we are now, the teams that we beat this year, the way that this team fights, the way that over the past 4 years under Heupel, we have won games in every way imaginable, in every way you could think of. High flying offense, no defense. All defense, no offense. Like fighting back from being down, putting your foot on the throat when you're up. Like it's been all over the map and we're still winning games. So it makes me feel good for the future. It makes me feel good about Heupel, where he can go. It makes me feel good that we're still getting these big-time 5-star recruits. We're still finding these guys in the transfer portal who end up making big contributions out on the field. Jermon McCoy. I mean, what are we talking about? Hendon Hooker. What are we talking about? Brew McCoy. Well, like these guys are coming in from the transfer portal. He's finding dudes that are making a massive difference on the field. Rodney Garner's finding guys on the D-line from everywhere. And he's like, come on in. You're going to dominate here. And that's the kind of shit you'd love to see. We didn't think Keenan Pili was going to be anything. And when that guy was on the field, he was a baller. He was a baller. He got injured a lot, which sucks. But, man, when he was out there, he was balling. So I do feel great about Heupel. We have always felt great about Heupel. We set the standard when we first went to that practice of 3 to 4 years before we can judge him. And this guy started second year was like, I'm going. Like, we're making a difference. We're changing the culture around here. So I love where we're at. I think it was a very successful season overall. I wish we had the full team together versus Ohio State, because I feel like a lot of Tennessee fans would have a different taste in their mouth. But I'm excited. I'm excited going into the offseason. That wasn't always the case in years past.
Yeah. And I just hope people's patience don't run thin, that we might be at this level for a hot minute. We went from way down here to here really quick, and then we went from here to here really quick. And I think that next step is definitely the hardest one to take. And I would just recommend to, as I've already mentioned a couple times, go and just look at other programs that have recently won national championships or who have recently been close to winning national championships. Like, look at the Oregon Ducks, for example. And when they had, Chip Kelly, and then what was his name? The guy that was offense coordinator there, and they thought he would be just as good. And then he ends up getting fired. And then they had, I guess, was Cristobal out there for a year, and now it's Dan Lanning. And it's like how they've trying to been knocking it down or trying to get there and win the national championship. And then it's, like I said, how long Georgia was there before Kirby got there. And now, can you imagine, like, as a fan, like if you and I were Georgia fans, we'd be like, man, we love Kirby. He's brought us 2 national championships. But there's people down there like, well, maybe he's lost it. I mean, hell, we just get blasted. And this year's, I mean, he doesn't have the talent. Maybe he's trying to be too old, or whatever the case may be. My point is, just go and look out there and see what Penn State, Ohio State, Clemson, Alabama before Saban, now Alabama after Saban, like Florida won 2 national championships. And now it's very, very, very difficult to do. Mm-hmm. And I just hope that people can realize that and not get super impatient with things.
Yeah.
So,
I also think that Nick Saban being gone kind of opens the field more, where teams aren't holding the space for so long like Alabama did. And a national championship, and then it's, hey, we're rebuilding to get back there, i.e. Michigan. They're rebuilding. They're trying to get back.
And Kyler, I think that's a great point, because I firmly believe that if Ohio State wins it this year, that I'm not going to automatically book them in for next year. Look at Texas, who Texas has been knocking on the door. Sarkisian just signed an extension. He had some of the worst play calls in spots that you can think of. I mean, people were talking about it as if they were Pete Carroll and not handing the ball to Marshawn Lynch. So really good coaches still make really bad mistakes, but patience. Anyways, 10-win season. I'm not sure. You and I will be on Boogie's charity thing on Wednesday, because I'm assuming this will come out tomorrow on Monday, and then you and I will pick a time to jump back on here at some point. Whether we got some, different I did see that we just signed the Duke running back in the transfer portal, so I don't know much about him, but we'll hop on at some point, I'm guessing, in the coming weeks.
Yeah, I mean, eventually, once basketball gets to a peak, we might hop on there, talk about some of that stuff. Obviously, spring practice in a couple months, so probably talk about that too. So, I mean, we'll be back. You'll see our faces.
Because we'll have to talk about what we think needs to happen for that next step.
Yeah, true.
Hey, brother.
All right, brother. Thank you guys so much for watching and listening. If you are watching, please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, leave a comment. If you're just listening, rate, review, download, and re-download. Follow us on all those listening platforms. Follow us on social media at Pancakes and Bacon, on Twitter at Pancakes and Bacon _RTI on Instagram. Want to follow Reed at rbacon26. Want to follow myself? It is at Kyler Curvison on all social media. So check me out there. Again, great season. Very happy with where we're at. Hope everyone else agrees. Even if you don't, you guys are the best fans in the world. Really appreciate you. Thank you always for, supporting us through this entire venture. And as always, go Vols.